Good morning, listeners. Welcome into episode 18 of a New Era podcast. My name is Hanson, better known as Fryddy Online, and this morning I am with my dad, the one and only OG Frid. Dad, would you like to say hello to the listeners this morning?
Yeah, good morning, listeners. Good morning, faithful listeners to our podcast. Thank you for continuing to listen. I think today's going to be potential, not gloating, but we did pretty well in our picks here going into the second round and both, huh?
Yeah, don't need to gloat about the picks of the bracket or anything, but we'll gloat a little bit about the game 7 that occurred, and we'll start off with here on Saturday for the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs. I will say, I know you and me, we talked about this a little bit on Friday in person about how we were kind of a little scared.
A little scared.
7.
Yep.
Maybe not scared. It's the right word. A little, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm scared from this team,
It was just we were anticipating the worst.
Yeah, because we saw it last year. No team had ever blown back-to-back 3-1 series leads, and it looked like it was shaping up right in front of us. But then, it looked like it was shaping up for 50 minutes, to be honest. Well, not really. I mean, it was 0-0, and then, but we'll go through this a little bit. So there was I think it was the Nylander goal, about 10:34, 10:39.
And again, a mistake by our defense that's been solid. I mean, the last, game 6 game 6, they lost due to defensive mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And we almost gave it up again because of a defensive mistake, which is kind of, I mean, the broadcast was just picking on McAvoy.
Yeah, but he had some good moments on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I will say.
No, I think he definitely bounced back, but
yeah. So Nylander goal 9:01 into the third period, assist by Austin Matthews and Bertuzzi, and then about a minute and 21 seconds later, I think, or it's like a minute and 30 seconds later, something like that. Hampus Lindholm has a crazy shot and we were ripping him for that whole minute, and there were a couple ones in there that I was like, one of these is bound to go in, because this is the thing that I wish is if we played with the aggressiveness on offense that we did in this in that 2-minute span between them getting the goal and us, and then how we came out right in overtime, this never would have been a 0-0 game. I don't understand why we were playing so, I don't know, slow. I know it plays into what we want to do at home and grind it out and beat you defensively and beat you up physically. But if we would have played that offense like we were shooting at the back half of that third period, this could have been a 4-1 game. Hampus Lindholm gets the one that hit Samsonov just perfectly enough on the post to hit him off the shoulder and go in. And then the last 9 minutes there, I mean, there were some shots up, but I felt like at that point, I think both teams kind of
were playing for overtime.
We're playing for overtime, exactly. I mean, you could tell by the Maple Leafs they had the puck last. They had it with 20 seconds, 18 seconds. I think it was Nylander, or some defenseman. It might have been, I can't remember who. I don't give a fuck about the team. I had the puck behind the net,
right?
And they're doing a line change. Riley did doing a line change, and he was taking it up really slowly. And all the TD Garden was like, "Boo! Go fucking do something." Then we get the nice 10-minute break. We jump into overtime, and they look like they were out there to kill. And you got the perfect passes from Lindholm to Carlo to Pasternak. He does what he needs to do. Our star player, he got a little shifty there too.
Yeah,
he really cooked up Samsonov. He had 3 dekes right in front of his face, pops it right over his left shoulder, goes in. Samsonov looks like I don't know. He just looked dead there on the ice. All that just to lose it. And Bruins advance to the second round, where they'll be playing Florida tonight for game 1 in was it Sunrise, Florida, Sunjoy, Florida, whatever the fuck it is. I don't care.
Sunrise, yeah, Sunrise.
Yeah, Sunrise. Man, we talked about this on Sunday on the phone, but now we can go over it a little bit here. That was a real asshole clencher game. I'll tell you. That was I felt, I don't know. It's good we got that second goal, but when that Toronto goal went in, how'd you feel? Because I was not feeling good.
Yeah, a little pit in the stomach, thinking, "Here we go again. Here we go again." And you and I, again, we talked about this on Friday in person, based on where this podcast could have gone. I mean, we could have just done a full hour and a half of just shitting on our Bruins if it happened.
Fire everybody, get them out.
I was like, yeah, Jim Montgomery's got to go. And, kind of interesting to see, I mean, obviously his huge emotion on the ice after the game. One of the bad parts about the whole thing was, I mean, obviously everyone's excited. You go through the line, shake your hands, which again, I think is absolutely one of the best ending of a series in sports.
Or like traditions, you're saying?
The best tradition, just both teams just lining up. I mean, you've hated each other that long time. You've gone in the corners. You've hit them and whatnot. And for them then just to show that respect, I think is one of the best things ever. And obviously then you're skating off. And I don't know, Swayman, Allmark was on the ice still waiting. And Swayman kind of looked and whatnot. And then he just went off the ice. And I think Allmark's like, dude,
where's the hug?
Yeah. Where's the hug? Saw that. Then they pan to Jim giving that fist pump and all. And then, listen to his press conference after and just saying that's how the guys wanted. He challenged them. Yes, they came out in that first period with, 3-4 times as many first period shots as they had in the two previous games. Yeah, combined. I don't know though. I mean, how much of this? I don't think this is I mean, Jim obviously, ended up calling out Pasta there as well, and he took it and agreed and then showed up. But I thank you, Jim, for what I saw as well. I think he's got the second best all time, at least in the Bruins, and it might be NHL.
No,
history.
It's NHL history.
Yeah. Only second to a Bruin coach back with the Bobby Orr years. But was it really him and his motivation, or I think our players just said, fuck it.
I think I love Jim Montgomery. I even if we would have lost on Saturday, I would not have called for his job. I would have wanted to see it again. I know you were on the other side of that fence there.
Yeah.
No, I think that's what you need a coach to do. And you say call out, and yes, but no, I don't want to necessarily call it calling out, because Pasta wasn't doing, what we expected out of a 47 goal scorer in the regular season in this series so far. I see it more, and ESPN has it right here, as it was he didn't hesitate to publicly challenge Pastrnak.
Yeah.
And I think that's a better term for it. He challenged him to step up to the plate and do what he needs to do. And that's what I mean, you and me have talked about this all year, even going back to last year in the offseason, between what we thought was going to potentially be a bad Bruins team this year. Maybe not bad, but not great. It's just Jim instilling that winning culture that we're just building here and continue to build on, no matter who's in a jersey or a sweater. Sorry, no matter who's on the ice, they just play together. Jim is here to instill that confidence in this team that you can get into the game sevens if you need, and you play your game. And so I'm gonna give it 50-50. I'm gonna give it 50% to Jim and how he prepared them and how he gets, to this team when he talks to them in the locker room. Like, because it's got to be tough to almost re-win a locker room after you were up 3-1 for the second time in 2 years, and now you're playing a Game 7 at home again. And I'm sure everybody woke up on Saturday and they were like, guys, we've seen this before, So I think it takes a lot out of the coach to keep them grounded and be like, let's not fall into the same pit we did last year. This is completely new series, completely new year, completely new team. So I think it definitely is him. But I think it definitely was too, especially like that Hampus Lindholm goal. That one, that's just a pure fuck it. I want to see this puck go in. I'm shooting this to tie up this game. And it was probably like nobody was expecting Lindholm to be the guy to tie up that game. That's a like, hey, let's get this going. We're not putting the shots on that we want here. I think I got a look. Let me rip it. We got 10 minutes left of our season potentially.
It was a great wrister there. He had the shot earlier, gave it up, and then moved in closer for a great little wrist shot over the shoulder. I'm, and we'll reverse course here and say obviously Jim directed them and we're on to our second round of the playoffs. I'd love as well then. I know I'm sounding devil's advocate, but overall, the management of this Bruins team, this organization, I think is top notch between Cam Neely, the president, and then you have Don Sweeney, the GM, and Jim Montgomery as your coach with his other leadership team. This is a great future for us.
It really is. And you think we're doing all this without like Matthew Patras, who won't be here for the rest of the year. However, when we do mention some injured skaters, Jim did say, I think yesterday, and gave us a little more confidence that all of the skaters that could come back during the season or during this series will be back at some point this series. Namely, that's Carlo and Heinen. So that's a good sign. It won't be game 1 tonight, but it could be, once they get back to Boston in game 3. So we'll look ahead here, I guess, to the second round series with the Florida Panthers, like you correctly predicted. I did say, I'll put this out there. I did say I wanted the Lightning at 7. I picked them, but I did say this could come around to bite me in the ass, and it definitely could be Panthers in 5. It was Panthers in 5. When I picked that, it was very biased because I don't like this team. But tonight we've got the game in Florida. Florida is minus 175 favorite on the money line, which I think is a little pricey. I won't lie. That's a little juiced. I'd expect it to be a little closer. Not anything like the Canes Rangers game yesterday. Canes were favored 115. Rangers were 110. I wasn't expecting anything like that, but 150 plus 150 on the money line for the Bruins. I don't know. That could be some good value there. I was thinking like a plus 135 and give the Panthers like a minus 155, 160, whatever that comes out to. Over under set at 5.5, and yeah, that's all we really need to do here. So let's talk about game 1 first, and then we'll talk about the series. We get the rematch that we wanted. We get the opportunity here to avenge last year's loss in that first round series against a team in which, like we talked about last week, we did sweep in the regular season. Tell me how you're feeling about today.
I'm hoping that, yes, I know obviously short, we had to now fly down to Florida. I'm just hoping the emotion that we had for that last game continues. We build on that emotion going in. It'll be great to get some of these guys back skating and playing and getting these lines. Although, really unique to see the juggling of the lines. Morgan Geeky, and before we finish up and wrap up, I do want to ask you who you think your star of the first round was and who didn't show up as well. We can go over that, but yeah, all these guys are just Jake DeBrus just flipping lines and stuff. I think we're deep enough. I think it's going to be a tight one. I would say definitely under the 5.5. I would say, a 2-3 goal or 2-1, 3-1 kind of goal win. And I'd put the money on the Bruins. Hopefully the emotion continues. Florida could come out flat again. They know we've taken them 4-0 in the season or regular season. Florida could come out flat.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's in their barn, but
they also haven't played in what? 5 days, 4 days?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm going to have to sneeze here in a second again. I don't know why. You talk about the emotion, though, and I guess I'll play devil's advocate here. Yes, I feel like the emotion helped will us to that win in Game 7 on Saturday, but do you really want that to carry over? Because I think you start over a new series. It's blank slate, 0-0 again. I don't know if you want us necessarily just to be playing off like the emotion that we're bringing in, because something just sounds bad to me about starting off a series Game 1 relying on winning off the emotion here. Because you're going into a different building. Yes, it was a big Game 7 win, but I think you just want to go out here and try to play your game, because if you're going to play too emotional, you're going to get into dragging over some of the emotion about what this team did to you last year, what some of these certain players did to you last year. The Sam Reinharts, the Matthew Tkachuk's, and it might get we're a very disciplined team. So for a different team, I would say if you're playing too emotional, we're going to give up stupid penalties and you're letting up stupid shots and openings that shouldn't be there. This is a very disciplined team, so I don't necessarily think that would impact the game that much. But I don't know. I just don't think we can rely that much on the emotion here, because I think equally, whether Florida is flat or not to come out here in Game 1, they're also going to be emotional about the series, because they completely want to come into the series and win it and show that last year was not a fluke. We are better than this team, sort of thing. So I don't know. You say 3-1, 2-1 Bruins win
tonight. Yeah.
I don't know. I honestly, I would love to see the Bruins win tonight. Obviously, I do think we'll take one of them. I think it would be Game 2. I think Panthers might win today, and I think if we're going to get one in Florida in these first two, it'll be Game 2. After they have played today too, we both have an off day tomorrow, and then we both have to play Wednesday again. And I'd be okay with that, going back to Boston 1-1, just taking one in Florida here, and then reshifting focus on Friday to making sure that we don't give up one of Game 3 or Game 4 at home in Boston like we did against Toronto.
My reasoning is this: we're already in their minds, already had a 4-0 regular season win count against them. I think, and obviously Florida style, yes, hitting, just being rats on the ice, that's going to come up. And yeah, if we are emotional, it could bite us in the ass, having them being the rats that they are. But you did say we're very disciplined. I think we have to do something different just to make sure that we win Game 1. If we lose Game 2, I'm vice versa. Excuse me. If we win, we have to win tonight. If we do split and we lose tomorrow or Game 2, that's fine. But let's get on the right foot. Let's win this game and just flex our muscles and go, yeah, Florida, your time off and your building and whatnot. But no, man, we are the big bad Bruins. We're here to win this series and continue.
Then you want to
we have to
back
win
back
one.
them into a corner a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And I'm looking at this here. So these are estimated return dates. So I don't know if this necessarily means he's out, but if it does, Carter Verhaeghe may be out tonight. They also have 4 guys day to day. I imagine not all of them will be out, but one of the biggest ones there that I see is Alexander Barkov, day to day, could potentially be out game 1. And you got to think it's like, yeah, these guys have had 4 or 5 days off, whatever it is. So they could be healthy, they could be well rested. But if you're going to give them a day off just to make sure that these guys are okay, it's going to be game 1, which favors us.
Yeah,
if they're playing without Barkov and Verhaeghe, which are, I think their second and third line center. That's a big loss. That's a really big loss. You're going to have to shift up some lines, which could favor us because after a couple days off, yes, they've been practicing and all, but you got to get out there and play game 1 against a very good defensive Bruins team with a line that you're just not too familiar and comfortable with.
Yeah, and I think of the member of the 5-man team that you're putting on the ice. The one position you don't want to, which I think definitely favors us, is your center. Mm-hmm. You do not want to have a new center, directing, winning the face-offs and stuff. Again, that's why I love our flexibility. I mean, Geeky can play wing or come into center. I mean, we've seen it with Frederick. I mean, these guys are, and Charlie Coyle. Charlie Coyle, a couple times during the game, was not center. He was playing a wing position. I mean, these guys have tons of flexibility. We can rotate them in, around, win the faceoffs when we need to, either on the left side or right side. And if you are going with a new center, yeah, I give us the advantage there.
Okay, so we've got it at least. We both got it 1-1 coming out of Florida. You've got game 2, or you've got game 1 going to us. I've got game 2 tonight, and we won't know until probably 10 minutes before the game, as we didn't know all series against the Maple Leafs. This has got to be an Allmark game, right?
Yeah, I agree 100%. He's got to see some pucks. Obviously, hopefully he's getting most in the morning skate today. And then, yeah, he just feels confident. It'd be bad if we do lose game 1, and then obviously you got to probably look at putting Jeremy in for game 2. And if Jeremy takes that and then rides game 3 and wins that, there you go. We're not doing it's Swayman series, Swayman's playoffs to win.
Yeah. But if Allmark comes out here and plays this Florida team like he did in the regular season, and he had his number to beat them 4 times, then you look at a situation like we had last round where, yes, Swayman is ultimately, like, he might be a little more talented, but that is the luxury that we have with having these 2 great goalies, is Jim might just be playing to the matchup.
Yep.
What teams he feels that certain goaltenders are more comfortable with. But I do think it's Allmark too. I think you gotta give Swayman the rest. If this was not a 2-day turnaround, if we won it in 6, if we won it in 5, well, if we won it in 5 too, this series would have probably started on Saturday. So that doesn't really change it. A game 6 maybe would have gave us an extra day. I feel like in that case you could look to Swayman, but give him a day. If we lose one, it's not the end of the world here. But I feel like Allmark can do what he needs to do enough tonight to, potentially grab a win. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to happen in this one, But if he does, it puts us in a very great position. You've got Swayman rested up. You've got Allmark that gets his groove back. And then you've got, on Wednesday, a Panthers team that would need to come out there and, like we said, with their backs against the wall and feel like they need to take one in Florida. And they might get a little restless and they might, make some stupid shots and try to play Allmark differently if he were to play game 2 again. And he's seen that. He's seen that this year. He's seen that for, 60 times 4 is freaking, 240 minutes of ice time this year against this team. Like, you got to feel good about that. You mentioned MVP of this Maple Leafs series and somebody that we said probably didn't do enough.
Exactly.
The MVP, I don't think this is up for debate, is Jeremy Swayman, who put up a absolutely historic series against the Maple Leafs. It is, I wish I had this stat. Actually, I might have sent it to myself. But he put up like a .950 save rate, or has against the Toronto Maple Leafs all season. I don't have the stat here, but he is the reason why we won this 100%. It was not our offense, as we could tell by the last couple games where we were playing them very, very, very tough, I'd say, I guess. It's definitely Swayman. And so for who didn't do enough, I hate the wording, I guess, of that question, because it's crazy to be like, well, who didn't do enough in a series that we did win? But if I had to pick somebody, man, maybe it's like
I'll tell you who I thought
for the last 3 games. I wish it was Zaka a little more. He had a good first 4 games.
Zaka too. Yeah.
He had a good 4 games.
But no points. Or no goals.
The last 3, and I wasn't really expecting goals from him in the first couple games. He got his points through like assists and stuff. He did have a goal, I think, in game 1 or 2 or something like that. So I wish he would have maybe stepped up to the plate a little more. But he did have a good 4 games there to start the series. So I don't know if that's necessarily it. It might be somebody like I don't know, and this hurts to say, because he also had a good first 4 games and was non-existent in the point section, I guess, of the stat sheet in Charlie McAvoy, but he played great defensive minutes.
Right.
So I don't know. I'd probably go Zaka.
I agree too. I was going to say Zaka. I mean, for a guy who's playing your second line center, which we already described is a need position on the ice. He's playing on your power play, and he's playing, shorthanded. I think coming off your second shorthanded group coming out. He needed to step up a little bit. I think the spotlight was a little too much for him to begin with, but I anticipate him to connect with Pasta a little bit more this series.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back because I really like Zaka, and
I love Zaka too.
I love Zaka, and I still felt like he was there. He just didn't, get involved where we needed, I guess. Maybe Beecher too, but that's also, I don't necessarily think that's Beecher's fault, because we saw that in game 5 where Jim switched up all those lines and we lose that game, which you and I, we didn't understand. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. And he switched up a bunch of lines. Beecher doesn't play game 5. Played game 7 and 6, 7 and 6, only put up 11 minutes on ice, almost 12 on Saturday, 10.5 minutes on ice in game 6. And only had the 1 goal in game 1. I could give it to either him or Zaka, really. But I definitely think both of them will be able to to pull it around and do something different this series, as long as Jim isn't switching up our lines too early in this series and not panicking, I guess.
And you make up, I mean, not a point, but interesting. And I want to not rebut, but talk about this a little bit more about our fourth line, minus Pat Maroon, who still looks a tad bit lumbersome out on the ice at times. But, I think you need Beecher and Jasper to play more than 10 to 11 minutes a game. One of the remarks your mom made on game 7 right away was, she said, we're already playing and why did they dump it in again? And I'm like, line change.
Mm-hmm.
I think, that group was out there a minute and a half and we did another line change. And then yet, when the tough gets going, you have your Marchand and Pasternak on the ice a lot more. But I would love to see, at least in game 1, more length to the fourth line in terms of minutes, which I think would create confusion and just disruption to Florida as well.
And I think you might have to rely on that with this being a 2-day turnaround too. So I think that's a good point. Yeah.
Yep.
So the moment we've been waiting for.
Dun, 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 dun.
Series prediction. Let's hear it, Dad.
It's gonna go back to it's gonna be tight. And yes, I know we've won 4 out of 4 in the regular season, but it's the playoffs. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go through this all over again. It's going 7.
Mm-hmm. And you got the Bruins.
Got to stay with my Bruins. Predicted, the double when we started this podcast over a couple months ago. So, yeah, man, Bruins in 7.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
Which will be amazing because we're going to have to win it down in Florida.
Yep, we would. Yeah,
and
I'm trying to think of a way that this could possibly go 6 and we'd win it in Boston. Florida team is really, really good, man. And I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. But yeah, like you're saying, go down to Florida, win it in 7 there, win it in their home building. Walk off the ice as a big, fuck you guys. We know what you did to us last year. We're here to do the same shit to you. I don't want to hear anything again about last year's season. This is the moment we're in, and we're gonna beat you in your home ice to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals.
The sad part about all this is that by us saying Bruins in 7 and having to win there, meaning our Boston game 6 is a must-win game.
Why? We could be up 3-2 going into it. Because like we're saying, we're thinking 1-1.
Yeah.
And then we go to Boston 3-4. And like I mentioned earlier, I think, but that would put us in a 3-1 spot again.
Yeah. And we don't want to do that.
So it's a 1-1, 1-1. So then you got 2-2 out of game 4. Then you'd have to win game 5 in Florida.
Yeah.
They would win game 6 in Boston. And then, I guess that works for you because, 2 games before that, you had just won in Florida in a very, game 5 is, game 5 is no game 7, but game 5 is also very big.
A pivotal, yep. To show where the series is going. Yep.
And to be able to win in Florida in game 5 and then have to go back there for 7, you kind of get, that off your shoulder, like, hey, we can do this. And at that point, like we're saying, that would be 2 out of 3 games in Florida at that point in the series that we would have won going into 7. So we'd feel hopefully a little better about it. But I guess we'll see what happens. I'll take the Bruins in 7, and this is going to be another tight series. But it's going to give us great tough, grinded out playoff game experience that, regardless of who comes out of that Rangers-Canes series, I don't know if they're going to be as battle-tested as one of these two teams is going to be. I'll honestly say that. Before you got anything else here on the Bruins before we move on a little bit?
No, I mean, I think if it is, I mean, unfortunately, the Hurricanes took a big loss last night. I would probably be more worried if the Rangers kind of win in 5 and then we go through a battle-tested second round going to 7 against the Rangers rather than the Hurricanes.
Yeah, no, I'll make you feel better right now. Both of these series are going to go 7. These teams on both sides are so evenly matched. And I mean, you say a big loss, but they were in New York last night, and Kane still lost by a goal. Granted, it was 4-2 with like 2 minutes to go. They got one empty netter, I think, or whatever, or one with the net empty, and then they were on the power play to end the game with a chance to tie it. Close game, and I feel like Carolina's just going to use that kind of as motivation, and they could take game 2, and then you're in a 1-1 spot, exactly where we think Bruins and Panthers might be.
Yeah.
One thing here before we move on to the Celtics is this is going to be a good segue. So we got a busy week. Make sure your days after work are pretty open, because for the next 8 days, we got Bruins game 1 today, Celtics game 1 tomorrow, Wednesday, Bruins game 2, Thursday, Celtics game 2, Friday, Bruins game 3, Saturday, Celtics game 3, Sunday, Bruins game 4, Celtics game 4 next Monday. We've got a playoff game for the next 8 days. Then we take a day off. I think we take a day off on the Tuesday. Then I think it's Bruins, Celtics, day off, and then game 6 and game 7 to end those series, if they get there, would be on the same day. So very busy Boston sports schedule coming up for the playoffs.
And can you foresee this happening? I mean, again, we wanted to do this podcast because our Boston teams have been historically great or in playoffs, and we're huge fans of Boston sports and saying Boston is the number one sports
city. It is
city. And yet we could end up potentially in the NHL and the NBA finals, a New York-Boston series.
You're talking about the Eastern Conference Finals.
Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I saw that. There's a chance, if the Knicks win and the Rangers win, we would have both those Eastern Conference Finals series alternating in the arenas for 2 weeks. That would be incredible. Insane. Absolutely insane.
Insane.
But I don't want to look ahead too far. But that would be absolutely crazy. All right, moving on to our Celtics here. Finished it in 5. We did both have a sweep, but that was before the game 2, and it's fine because Celtics came out here, and after the game 2, they were like, all right, we can stop fucking around, and they did, and handled the Heat like we thought they would. Cavs won their game 7 yesterday against the Magic, so we will be seeing them in the second round. I feel like this is almost the popular answer that I'm seeing on Twitter and on sports and all, and the Cavs are a good team. And we had said this throughout the season when we were seeing them try to catch us at that 1 seed when they were at the 2 for a little bit. I got Celtics in 5, and like I'm saying, I think that's the popular answer. If I didn't see the Cavs go 7 with the Magic, and I feel like the Magic are a very good defensive team. The reason they lost is because they are not too great on the offensive end when they need to be. They can't hit these shots, and we could see that in Game 7. You need to be able to hit those. You need to be able to go on runs. a very good defensive team, and it gave the Cavs some fits in a 7-game series. Now you're playing one of the best defensive teams in
Yep.
the league, in the Celtics, who are going to give them, or we're going to have been watching this series because we've had time off since Wednesday, have been watching exactly how to game plan against this Cavs team. You got to play them smart defensively. And I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do that pretty well. If the Cavs showed me a little more, I guess, in that first series, if they won it in 6, if they showed that, and ultimately they don't have the greatest roster. There is the Donovan Mitchell that can put the team on his back offensively if he needs to.
But he's going to have to.
He's going to have to, but it's also how are you going to when we can throw Drew, Derek White, or Jaylen Brown at you all game, all series. Yeah. There's going to be one of them on him. So, yeah, I think they'll still win. I think it's Celtics in 5 again, though, pretty easily.
I agree in 5. Love to see a sweep, though. Just flex our muscles and just say, "Yep."
The only reason why I don't think that could be the case is just because we are still awaiting the Porzingis coming back. But ultimately, I think that's fine. I think we can still beat this team without him. And I hope we do it, like I said, like in 5. In 4 would be great. I don't think that's going to happen without him. But in 5, to give him some rest.
We'll have a letdown in Game 3.
Yeah,
going back to Cleveland.
That seems very Celtics.
And it'll be a tight one. It won't be the Miami Heat win against us, their only win. I think it'll be, again, couple points, 104, 101 type of win Cleveland does in their Game 3. But we're gonna flex our muscle.
Keep in mind, though, you mentioned the Miami game. It took them shooting like 65% from 3 in order to beat us by 9 points. So,
and Cleveland is not going to do that.
No. Well, I also said Miami wouldn't do that, and then they do. But Miami's role players just have this tendency to show up and do that against us in the playoffs. Doesn't matter. They're knocked out. Their season now. They're in Cancun. Don't care. So we've gone through our series with the Bruins and the Celtics, as we did 2 weeks ago with the first round. All these second round matchups are now set in stone. So let me go through. We'll go through NHL here first. We got 4 series.
Can you say what we did?
Oh, yeah. So, let me go through these. So we had, we both picked Dallas. I picked Dallas in 6. You picked Dallas in 7. Dallas won in 7. We both said Winnipeg, Colorado was going to 7. That was dead wrong. You said Colorado. I said Winnipeg. So you got that one. Vancouver and Nashville. I think we both said Vancouver in 5. Vancouver ends up winning it in 6. Edmonton and the Kings. We both said that was going to go 7. You had Oilers. I had Kings. Oilers win it in 5. Florida. I'm going to put an asterisk on this one by me because, like I mentioned, I said Lightning in 7. I felt like that was a biased pick. I said it could come around to bite me, and if I'm being realistic, it's probably Florida in 5. It was Florida in 5. That's what you picked as well. We both said Boston in 5, and that was a tight one. Yeah. Boston advances in 7. We both called the sweep of the Rangers over the Caps. We said 4-0. Went on a whole thing about how the Caps shouldn't even be in the fucking playoffs, and look what happened. And then I think, did you say Carolina in 6?
No, I said 5.
I think we both said 5 then. So we both said Carolina in 5, and that hits. So you hit every single series winner. Didn't nail the exact games, but you got all 8 to advance. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5. I'll go 5.5.
All right.
So we'll move on here. We'll start out west. Dallas and Colorado. This should be a good series.
This should be.
All of these are going to be very good series. The deeper into the NHL playoffs you get, or any playoffs, they get better. Who do you got coming out of this one?
This one, I love the Avalanche. I love the depth and all that they have. Kale Maker, love him, but I think this is going to be Dallas, top seed as is, and they'll be winning it in. They'll win it in 6.
So I'm leaning towards saying that too. And as I mentioned 2 weeks
You
ago,
got a future.
I'm sticking with my futures. So I really do want to pick Dallas here. And Colorado definitely flexed their muscles this first series against Winnipeg, but I don't necessarily attribute that all to Colorado. I think I'm going to attribute that more to the fact that Winnipeg just did not look as good as I thought they were going to at all.
Yeah.
They just got severely outplayed. Even in the game that they won, I didn't feel good about it. So not to take anything away from Colorado, they win the series in 5, good for them. But I think Dallas, after coming off of a very tough 7-game series against the defending champion, I think that carries over. I think they've got, the shit out of the way that was happening in the first round, in which, the first 2 games at home, they let Vegas take. And then I think they ended up winning. Yeah, they won both games in Vegas there to put it to 2-2. I think it was the only first round series that actually went 2-2. So I'm going to have Dallas. I'm going to have Dallas in 6 because I think that they'll be able to regain their home ice advantage like they want. They'll probably win it. Well, game 6 would be in Colorado. Man, that's tough. Actually, I'm gonna go 7. I'll go Dallas in 7 just because I think playing in Colorado for any sport is hard. But playing in Colorado, the Avalanche fly at home. They are really good at the elevation and playing teams in their home building. I'll take Dallas to close it out in Dallas in 7 because Colorado. That's the one thing about them. They're very good at home. They can have some shitter games away, and I think against a team of this caliber in the Dallas Stars that almost plays a brand of hockey like the Bruins, where they want to play very low scoring, very defensive. And you pair that with a team in Colorado that when they are on the road offensively, they are not hitting on all cylinders. I'll take Dallas 7 there. Moving on to the other Western Conference series, Vancouver and Edmonton, to make sure that there's a guaranteed Canadian team in the Western Conference Final and a chance for Canada to still get a team to the Stanley Cup Final. What you got here?
Obviously, Vancouver, I think a bit of a surprise in the regular season as is to get the points where they were. Probably not anticipating this team to be as good as they were in the regular season. But I'm going to go, I want to go Edmonton, more just again on their strength of players who can score. And, maybe some, as silly as it sounds, but, they have the tradition behind them as a club and in the playoffs and just feed off of that. And I'm taking Edmonton in 6.
Well, we're nailing it again. It's 2 for 2. I'll also be going Edmonton in 6. I really like this Vancouver team, as we were talking about in the first round look ahead. I felt like they were going to win. I said Canucks in 5, but they won that series a way that I didn't really anticipate. I thought that they were going to win this series by outscoring Nashville and outscoring them pretty well, and being able that. In majority of those games, you'd be able to take the Canucks -1.5 and feel okay with it. That was not the case. Nashville definitely gave them a run. And they were without, I don't know, let me look this up right now. I know the Canucks were without Demko, their goalie, for a good majority of this first round series. He got injured, I think, in game 2. So let's see if he's back. It looks like he might be back. Let me look for this. Yeah. Looks like he might be back, which is pretty good. I don't see him there. Their backup goalie, Casey DeSmith, who stepped in for, I think, games 3 and 4 when Demko was injured. He is still day to day. They had another goalie. Can't remember who. Oh, Solovs, I guess is his name. Who ended up, I think, closing out the series for him. Yeah, Demko hadn't played since game 1, actually, but it still says he's out. Can I see anything on his injury here? Canucks lose goalie Demko for at least game 2. I can't see anything on if he'll play in this game 1. But regardless, if he's in, if he's not, if they're switching around goalies, I didn't see enough from Vancouver here to think that they can just run with the guns and the offense that Edmonton's going to bring to this series. And I think, if this is 3-2 Edmonton and being the lower seed, they would play game 6 at home. And I just don't see Vancouver getting out of that. So I'm going to take Edmonton in 6 here too.
Yeah, you don't want to have going in, especially this series now, to get into your conference finals with goalie uncertainty.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, again, playing devil's advocate, we started off by saying, and it's not goalie uncertainty with us, it's just that we have the best tandem in the NHL, so we can play either or goalie. And again, we're going, as we predict, matchup rather than the hot guy. Everyone else is just sticking to their guns and their number one and going to ride him. And I mean, obviously, you saw Toronto potentially almost, and I think things could have been different if Wall would have stayed and was not injured at the end of game 6. I mean, because he came in and he was just hot for Toronto. But yeah, I mean, if Vancouver is rolling out your third goalie and having that tandem going, yeah. And you can't do that against Edmonton. You can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, rolling out your third goalie against, and if it comes down to it, you're just looking on paper. You were playing the best player in NHL, potentially in NHL history with Connor McDavid. You do not want to have a third string goalie out there and expect to win this series like that. It's definitely going to rely on the health of the goaltenders there, but either way, I don't see this one getting a 7. Florida, Boston, we already said. We both got Bruins in 7, and then we'll move on to Rangers, Carolina. I mentioned that this is going 7 a little earlier too. Who do you have taking this one though?
I would absolutely love to see the Hurricanes because we could have some amazing. We both have some friends that are Hurricane diehard fans, and would love to have them and their take, and we could have some banter on this podcast. Emotionally living here in outside of Raleigh, would love to see that as well. But the Rangers are a pretty strong club, and I think they'll be eventually doing it in 7.
Yeah, I almost really agree with you. I really want to see the Canes win this one, especially because I really want to be able to go see a game.
Yeah.
But I think that is potentially clouding my judgment here. Rangers looked really good yesterday. I watched that whole game, and they got up 3-1, and Carolina definitely made it a game. 4-3 loss. And if anybody's going to do it and beat this Rangers team, it could be Carolina.
I mean, they're pesky. They are pesky.
They are pesky. They play very aggressive offensively and defensively, and it's a weird pace that a lot of teams aren't able to keep up with for 7 games. But, the Rangers took game 1, and I think they saw what they needed to see out of Carolina in that game 1 to be able to game plan around it better for the upcoming games. I'll take New York in 7, sadly. But I'm not going to be sad if Carolina wins it. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, no.
I
won't be
think I might just be, if I say the Canes here, it's going to be cloudy judgment, and it's just going to be a little biased because I want to see it. But the Rangers are damn good, man. And Chesterkin has been just phenomenal in these playoffs. After yesterday, I think it is extended his streak to 28 straight home games without allowing more than 3 goals. That extends all the way back to first round against the Tampa Bay Lightning, I believe, in 2022 or something, which is or 2021. I don't know. It's a long time. It's been very impressive. And not to say Frederik Andersen is not a good goalie. He has been, and he's been very great since his injury, since coming back. But when you got 2 teams of this caliber and it's going to go 7, like I'm believing, I'm going to take, I think, the better goalie in Chesterkin and the more complete team in the Rangers.
Yeah, I agree. And what's going to happen is we'll be back here in Raleigh with an overtime, maybe even a double overtime, in which they'll squeak it out. But if you have to go to in your building an overtime or a double overtime to win against a great goalie, it's you'll be deflated even with the win.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there about an overtime game 6 in Carolina. That almost makes too much sense. You win that game, that's very emotional when you bring that over, and then you've got like an emotional hangover essentially in game 7. And I think Rangers take advantage of that and probably win that one 4-2, 5-2 with an empty netter. And it doesn't really, the game 7 doesn't really look that close for the rest of the third period. I think it would look good for 40 minutes. But yeah. All right, so let's move over to the court, from the ice to the court. NBA playoffs here. I'll start on the East this side. We both just said Celtics in 5. So who will be matching up with us in the Eastern Conference Finals? We got the Pacers and the Knicks starting tonight at 7:30. Knicks are obviously the 2 seeds, so they've got the home court advantage here. What do you think about the series?
I mean, I think definitely both teams are almost a surprise to get this far. I am, though, going to stay with the Knicks, again, because they have home court and they're a defensive team. So I'm going to take the Knicks in 6.
I also got the Knicks in 6 here. I just forgot, we didn't go over what we did here. So first round on the Western Conference side, Thunder win 4-0. You had Thunder in 7. I had Thunder in 6. We both got that one. They flexed their muscles, though, and got through that with the sweep. Clippers, Mavericks, Dallas won that 4-2. You had Mavs in 7. I had Clippers in 6. Good one for you. Timberwolves, Suns. I think you had Timberwolves in 6 or 7. I had Timberwolves in 5. They go ahead and sweep that, so we were pretty nailed that one. I had Nuggets in 6. You had Nuggets in 5. You nailed that right on the head. We already said what happened with Boston. Cavs, I had Cavs in 6. You also had Cavs in 6. They win that in 7. Bucks, Pacers, we had, I think, both Bucks in 5 or 6. I know I had Bucks in 5. You might have had Bucks in 6. Pacers win that in 6. We were completely off on that one. And then Knicks, 76ers, you had 76ers in 7. I had Knicks in 7. Knicks end up winning that one in 6. So not too bad. But moving on here, like you just mentioned, I really like the defensive capabilities of the New York Knicks. And I think that, Pacers played a good series. Don't let me take anything away from them. But I think I just don't see them doing it again. I just don't see them winning another series here. And I think they're okay with that. I think, they're fine calling this a successful season, upsetting the 3 seed Bucks. Now, granted, yes, Giannis and Dame were out for a majority of the series, but tough luck. I don't want people complaining about injuries in playoffs. Everybody is hurt in every sport at the end of the year. Everybody's not feeling 100%. Your players that supposedly like your best players in the world, and Giannis and Dame, it's just got to be those that, if your team is on the ropes, you got to just stick it out. And I think, not that the Pacers got lucky, but that the Pacers' luck is going to run out against the Knicks here. I got Knicks in 6 for sure. Western Conference. Thunder Mavs start tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This is weird for me because I had the Clippers and I really did not believe in the Mavs, and I think that's going to continue. I just I still don't understand how the Mavs won this series against the Clippers, and I think it's just a team that very heavily reliant on obviously Luka and Kyrie. And while the Thunder are young, I don't necessarily feel like the Mavs have that much of an edge when it comes to like the veteran presence. Yes, Kyrie has been there before. He's won a title, but like, can he will that whole team to it in a tough series? No, I don't think so. I'm going to take Thunder in 6.
Oh, I agree. And I think what's going to happen, I mean, Kyrie's already a little banged up. He's going to miss a game, if not 2, which is going to just solidify the series 100%. Thunder. This is the Thunder to end up, because of their talent, continue on a great pace. But I think it will end come the conference finals for them because they have to take their lumps. They have to learn how to lose in the playoffs. And this is an easy series for them. 5, definitely.
5. Okay. Yeah. And then potentially the best matchup, the best series of this semifinals round, Timberwolves and Nuggets. Timberwolves are already up 1-0 in that game 1 that they played, I believe, Saturday. Because they're playing tonight at 10. So yeah, they played Saturday. Nuggets are frauds. I don't like the Nuggets. I think, yes, they won in 5 against the Lakers, but majority of these teams in the playoffs would have won in 5 against the Lakers. You could tell by game 3 that the Lakers were just not what they needed to be in order to advance anywhere in this playoffs. And yet the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards, like I said 2 weeks ago, Anthony Edwards is him. The Timberwolves are rolling. He's going to continue to show out and be that guy. I'm going to take Timberwolves in. Oh man, I'll take Timberwolves in 6 here, but I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to flex and go 5.
Yeah, I was going to say right off the bat, Timberwolves in 6, obviously already taking the 1 at home. And I mean, matchup for matchup, I mean, all these players, you heard, or at least I have heard on other podcasts, how do you match up with Jokic? And I think the Timberwolves can do it with Gobert. And
Cat.
And Cat.
Yeah. So you got 2 very big guys there. Now, granted, Cat's not the most well-versed defensive guy, but I mean, you're looking at Rudy Gobert, who is I think multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. And he could, now he might not have, the lateral movement or anything that he needs to have with defending Jokic in the paint, but as far as just kind of neutralizing the threat of, allowing him to get into the paint and distribute and be a playmaker like he does.
Distribute, yeah.
I think that's going to be the downfall of the Nuggets in this series. You also mentioned, you said Timberwolves at home. They're not. They're the away team. They stole one in Denver.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, already stealing one in Denver. That will just continue with them to be able to win in 6.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I like that. So we'll probably do this again in 2 weeks once we'll have the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals in both the NBA and the NHL. I think you can kind of get a sense, a hint of where me and Dad are going to go for the finals, at least in the NBA. I've had my NBA matchup picked since round 1. And it's Celtics Timberwolves. And I think we could get to that point, but we'll see. All right, last thing here. Before we wrap up, we got about 15 minutes left. We'll talk about the Sox. So we said last week, we said 3-3. We said 2-1 against the Giants or the Twins and 1-2 against the other one. We nailed that right on the head. 2-1 against the Giants. 4-0 win on Tuesday, 6-2 win on Wednesday. Lost the end of the series, but we won the series. Lost the last game of the series on Thursday, 3-1. And then starting out the series against Minnesota on Friday, who was the hottest team in baseball. Up until yesterday, they were on a 12-game win streak. Lost Friday 5-2, Saturday 3-1. And then the Bats woke up yesterday and won 9-2. Finally snapped that terrible streak of like 6 or 7 games without a home run.
Yeah.
I don't know who else. I feel like we had multiple. Yeah. Devers hit one, but Rafaela hit one in the 5th inning that was awesome. I was watching that a little bit before the Canes Rangers game. He absolutely pelted that bit. It was one of those that I saw and I was like, that's so gone.
Yeah. And the fact that he had made adjustments in that at bat. I mean, he looked overpowered leading into that. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a strikeout. And then just crushed that ball. Crushed
it. Crushed it so much that it got the commentators talking about, like, we already know what Rafael is on the defensive end and his versatility there and ability to play multiple positions and play them pretty well. But they were talking about, we've got this guy signed for 8 years, and once the offensive tools come together, because they're working, and he's trying to find some consistency. Once they come together, we're going to have a really, really good ball player in Zidane Rafaela. But we'll look ahead for this week here. So we've got the Braves tomorrow. Once again, off on Mondays. They just know that we need to talk about them. So they're just not playing them on Mondays here. I say that, and I'm looking ahead. We have a Monday game next week. But we've got the Braves tomorrow at 7:20 in Atlanta. We've got the Braves Wednesday at 7:20 in Atlanta for a 2-game stint. And then we come back home on Friday for a 3-game series against the Nationals, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So 5 games this week. I think this is pretty clearly a 3-2 week.
I was going to say the same thing, although I lost out on a huge 3-leg parlay from those nasty Nationals, who I absolutely adore. I love them, but damn, they came back and won. And I could see them pulling out one. Obviously, we're not going to beat the Braves, although it would be awesome if Grissom. I absolutely am in love with this team right now. I love this team.
Yeah,
compared to a couple weeks ago. I mean, we love Tristan Cassis and all, but yet the Zach Short and the Dominic Smith pickup, and yes, when Garrett Cooper comes back, and who we already have, and yeah, you could say Grissom is another pickup. I mean, obviously he was injured the whole time, and we thought it would be the end of April, mid-May or beginning of May he comes back. But oh my God, I absolutely love this club right now.
Yeah, no, they are pretty fun. You say we're not going to beat the Braves. I don't know about that, man. The Braves have been beatable. They are a hard team, but they have lost games that they shouldn't. I think it's 3-2 because it's either, we lose both against the Braves and we sweep the Nationals, but I think we could take one against the Braves, and I think the Nats probably take one against us too, because people wanted to shit on the Nats coming into this season. Nats are sneaky good. I could have told you not to bet against them yesterday, mostly because Alek Manoah was on the mound for the Blue Jays, and I just don't believe in him, and he got kind of rocked. Not to mention they were on like a 2-hour weather delay too. Pitching was just cold, and you could see that by like the 15 combined runs or whatever that they had in that game. Let's take a moment here, though. Have a moment of silence for our guy, Bobby Dahlbeck, who's officially optioned back to AAA. Thanks, Bobby. We appreciate your help. Finishes with a slash line of 132, 207, 170, 377 in 22 games and 53 at-bats. Played some solid defense.
Bobby, unfortunately, is a 4A guy.
Yeah, he's a 4A guy. I saw that all over because he was crushing in Worcester this weekend. Hit like 2 bombs over the weekend or something. Him and Emmanuel Valdez might be our 4A guys because they are just killing it at the AAA level, and then you bring it up to the MLB, and it's just not there. And I don't get why. The more I've looked into this Bobby Dahlbeck thing, a lot of people are saying it might just be like a mental thing with him being in the MLB, because he's definitely got the ability to be a good player. I think it's just like, he'll get up to the plate in AAA, and he's got to worry about, the most I'm seeing is a 94-mile-an-hour fastball that I know I can tee up and go. And then you get into the MLB, and he's like, well, fuck, dude, now I'm seeing triple digits, and he just shits his pants up there.
Yeah.
And it's sad, really, because, we really thought he was going to be a good prospect, but all good things must come to an end.
Or off-speed stuff he just can't handle.
Yeah, he can't, which is very sad, but I don't know. I don't think he'll come back up this year. I think that was probably the last of Bobby Dahlbeck we'll be seeing. But, pouring out for our homie, rest in peace, Bobby Dahlbeck. While he didn't contribute much, you were a fun story to root for. He really was. All right, you got anything else about the Sox, Celtics, Beavs before we close out here?
No, I mean, again, thank you, Boston, for winning the Bruins. Thank you for pulling that out. I don't sound like an idiot losing them in the first round, as I'm calling for a double. Celtics are just flexing their muscle. Couple double-digit wins in their first series. And, yeah, again, guys, I am in love with this lineup. Love these players. I love the hustle of the Sox. We didn't think so going in, and man, Reese McGuire to even steal third base. I mean,
that was awesome to see yesterday.
I mean, these guys are just playing with heart, speed. Yeah, and I love this new kid, Vaughn Grissom. Love him.
Yeah,
love him.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, thanks Bruins, because my mental health was for the next week was entirely dependent on Game 7 on Saturday, and it looks like we'll have a good week, hopefully. So, Bruins, let's go out there and get them tonight. Let's prove me wrong and take Game 1. Let's prove Dad right here. Let's start off the series on the right foot and go shove it in Florida's face here for what they did to us last year. I really hope that's in the back of their minds. I'm not playing too emotional, but definitely there. And we'll see what happens. So that'll conclude episode 18 of a New Era podcast here.
Hold on.
Oh,
I think there's some. Yeah, I think there's one last thing that we're going to have to watch, because I know I didn't watch it. Obviously, you were busy watching other things. I think we have to watch this Tom Brady roast.
Oh, yeah, on Netflix. Well, I can't see the Netflix account from my spot anymore because of the damn fucking... I'm not paying for Netflix again, but I saw some clips on Twitter and stuff, and oh my God, it was quite funny. They were heavy on the Aaron Hernandez hanging himself jokes. I've heard that. So that was, like almost too heavy, to the point where some people were like, I think they're beating a dead horse here. No pun intended. But, well, I guess we'll have to watch that. You can watch it soon, I'm sure, with Netflix. I'll find a way. Maybe that'll be our homework for this week, and come back and see what we have to say about it.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be good. And really excited about upcoming. Obviously, we have the PGA Championship coming up, so we'll have our man, our golf expert, on to talk about this. And I'm kind of excited about a future podcast with your weekend coming up in Indianapolis.
True. Yeah. End of Indy 500. Be there in the flesh. See it for the first time. I don't know how much I'll have to say about it once we come back. Outside of the fast, it'll be like vroom vroom, cars go fast. But who knows? Maybe it'll surprise me. It'll be a fun experience.
Absolutely.
All right. So now we're good.
We're good now.
We're good. All right. So this will officially conclude episode 18 of a New Era podcast. We thank you guys for listening. Once again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns that you want to give to us, any notes about the show, on Twitter, on Instagram, at A New Era Podcast. Same thing on Facebook. You can just search up the name of our podcast. If you have to email us, A New Era Podcast at gmail.com, and we'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So that'll be it. We will catch you guys next week. Go Bees, go Celtics. Let's get it.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad.